Tom Newhart? That's cool.
In the most strange environments. Like they'll be having dinner at like a TGI Fridays and at the YMCA swimming pool. They're like random places, right? Like what was her name? Valentina Gomez. You know, the one that was always saying slurs and being like, "Don't be weak and gay." She's an American. Don't be weak and gay. Like did a mock execution during her campaign. And they always is that Smeagol? Yeah. It is. It's a Anavar Smeagol. You know, if he wasn't hiding out in the cave and was just hiding out at a Gold's Gym. Oh my god.
Nature's
Great. It's great.
heirloom.
This work on a
Intel,
future review I got.
Motherbox, Motherbox, Champions Assembly, Intel Vault. Oh, it's all. Ding.
I will take care of this.
There's a baby.
For Atlantis.
That's right. If I'm polite, she gets pissed. If I'm rude, she responds in kind. That's right. She's suggesting that her pussy has teeth, which is cute. I like that. And feisty. You know, the old covenant, real Christian man. God.
Dude, they think they're so hard. It's crazy.
Oh shit. Button.
You're like 5'2". Who are you impressing right now? Yeah, I'm gonna kill you like Jesus would. Jewish supremacy. We have a problem with Jewish occupation in our government. Stu Peters, God, that's a name I haven't
By,
heard in a
by
while.
Christian, he means not a Jew.
And we could
Oh
solve a lot of
God.
problems
Can you hear
in
him?
conservative areas of this country if we just funded theater groups. Transformed
Yeah,
extremism
okay.
in America. Serves millions of us every day. They're reviewing a reported manifesto. Mass shooters publish manifestos online. Absolute racist, hate crime. Election deniers stream live as they attack the U.S. Capitol.
John was the most Jewish one? Okay, anyway, Catholics. Catholic newsletter. It's Sunday. How many days do I get? Oh, Passover starts today.
Like if they want to be on some Data's Vault,
Hey.
The gods of order type shit, like literally just LARPing groups. Let them go out like one weekend a month, a local park, and whack each other with foam swords. Let them get out their system. I think there is a strong connection. I've had this theory for a while because it was like the group I grew up in between Airsoft, Call of Duty, and this. Because there was always, some of you might relate to this, there was always like more than one dude in your Airsoft group that you would get together with on like once a month and like play Airsoft with that were like kitted out. They had like way more like military gear than they should have. They're like hitting at the military surplus store for like plate carriers and shit. And they were always garbage. They were always getting first out. And then
Whoa.
they enlist, join up with the National Guard, the Army, Marine Corps. Maybe like 30% of those people will like break their shit during training and then have to like drop out, or they get through basic and then go to airborne training and like just crush their femur trying to practice jumping out of a helicopter.
Really?
And then they're bitter about it for the rest of their lives. And it's this. They're the you will address me by my rank type people, right? I think there's a deep connection between like that archetype and this behavior. If you're going to play Airsoft, you need to play with this guy. Stolen Valor Reservists, yes.
The fringe is going mainstream.
And Trump is here to take down those satanic cabals.
Yeah.
You know this already.
The new military army.
Some believe we are on the brink of a totalitarian state.
Oh.
Actually runs the government. Some believe our government is totally controlled by corporate.
Yeah, the masculine urge to weed out the snow archetype. Yes, you nailed it.
Corporations themselves as crusaders in a fight for good versus evil.
Let's be the American people spreading the word of God.
So I've set out on a journey across the country to meet the Americans waging this battle.
This is basically the Mangione done.
To find out,
This is the domestic terrorism, right? This is the terrorism supporters. These are Nazis. These people should not be allowed to march in the street. This is like where my, free.
They should be allowed to march on the street under armed guard.
You should be so scared of
And
doing
then-
this in America.
And then all of their contact information should be forwarded to the lawyers of everyone who they've committed disparagement or slander against, just as a matter of process.
Marching in the streets.
That's civil crime, not tort. That's just you saying you were offended and asking for reparations.
It is. And this is where the real threat to the public is. And even American foreign policy. Like, this makes other countries that are not, European countries, this makes us look like we're unhinged because we are.
Slander. The only thing about slander, the key to understanding slander or libel is if it's disparaging to someone, it is effectively guilty unless it happens to be the God's honest fact. Like if somebody's like, they were going around saying I was a pissy face, and then someone was like, I would like to present to you, the court, your OnlyFans, and it's pissy face porn, then they're no longer guilty of libel or slander. Otherwise, they were disparaging your reputation, which is the crime.
These shields, they're already heavy because they're using metal ones. Alright? Their arms are tired. You grab the top of the shield and pull it down. If you grab the top and the side and you twist it, don't pull it towards you. Twist it. Grab that shit and twist it. Right? Grab the top, pull it down with both hands, take a step back, scroll a little bit, drop it down, grab it, twist it. Bop it, pull it, twist it. Just shoving against it's not going to do anything.
Or is the extreme just getting louder?
We're not finished yet. We got a long way to go. But we're doing this in the very first handoff of the set.
Huh, there is a news article. It's not just a fucking video.
You can also hit it with one of these. A thick ass photo. One of those things where
Fluctuate.
you suddenly let off and watch it fall over.
Does somebody have to use their thesaurus today?
Are they thick enough to actually stop bullets anyway? It's not about stopping bullets.
DC Gulag, let our people know. You guys can protest and say whatever you like from the comfort of the sidewalk and the park. Please do not try and come across the street.
It's inauguration night in Washington, D.C. We're outside the D.C. jail where people have been gathering for almost 3 years to campaign for the release of January 6 convicts.
And for the news,
I suspect these guys will become ICE agents as deportations ramp up. Nope. Deputies. They'll become deputies to go around looking for people. Unofficial, deputized groups that are unaccountable. More.
is it going to be the violent ones? It's going to be all of them, folks.
I have faith in my heart, brother, that all of you are going to be getting those calls from your attorney real soon.
Sherry Hefner is one of those campaigners. She takes calls nightly from imprisoned January 6ers.
What I can tell you guys is this. We are dressed. We have our bags packed. We are ready to go.
At the same time, I was receiving a call from inside the jail.
Hello. This is a call from Rachel Powell.
Rachel Powell is serving time for attacking the Capitol with a pickaxe on January 6.
It is crazy. In this photo is the brother of someone I know. I found this out a couple months back. In the photo is the brother of someone I used to work with who was arrested for his actions.
Oh shit.
He's in this general area.
Serving time for attacking the Capitol with a pickaxe on January 6.
This is Tony. How are you?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm still in here. But I was told that when I permit today that I should be out tonight. But I'm not in here without a permit.
But not everyone here is excited for the prisoner's release.
Did you ever think we'd be in a place where just hours from now? We're not going to get out, are we? No. You think she's going to walk out? Absolutely not. No, I could not. I would have told you, you're an idiot. That's never happening. But
jail.
Where you at, Nikki?
So I've been making the comparisons between Hearst Vessel, the martyr of the Nazi Party, and Laken Riley. A more appropriate comparison would be Ashley Babbitt, but because Ashley Babbitt was clearly committing a crime, right? I'll say this. I don't think Ashley Babbitt should have been killed, right? I also don't think Ashley Babbitt should have been there, right? But I don't think that they should have even been allowed to make it up to the Capitol, right? But because she's so clearly committed a crime, and was so clearly, like, trying to hop over a barricade and get two politicians, she got dropped. And she died doing what she loved, that is true. I think Laken Riley's, invoking of her name is more akin to the reactions of First Vessel than Ashley Babbitt, because there are a lot of, Republicans who think that Ashley Babbitt, not what was coming to her in the Republican Party. Like, a lot of people think that, shouldn't have done what she was feeling. But Laken Riley is like the perfect victim of, the delusions that the Republican Party propagates. White woman, victim of an illegal immigrant. But now the J6ers are the U.S. fascist essay, and the other thing. All I can see is this. Yeah, yeah. Is the point another January 6th protest will happen again during the presidency?
They're like hell. It's not that they're like hell. They're are like hell, and they're dangerous individuals with us.
How?
This is Oreo Express. He was actually at the Capitol on January 6th. Yes. And this is his hours worth. And Ashley Babbitt, I actually stalked that number one. Anyway, this is
Trump is your president! Trump is your president!
Yeah, she's a psychopath. Not these people. Not these people. In this moment, I am Mike Tyson.
It's not Mickey. They don't know that. They've been here. I know. I've been here all day. I saw you drinking. I saw you drinking alcohol in the bar.
So let's go back and forth, back and forth.
Talk about stalking. Talk about stalking.
For a police officer eventually confused.
Is it a trespass order? You know my name, Sergeant Jackson. For my own safety, that's why we're doing this.
Oh, take care of your kids!
Despite Trump's orders,
Kids?
stay place. There are no signs of prisoners being released.
Who?
So, outside the detention center. So, hopefully be released, Johnny. This was a couple months back. And some did. This was with Donald Trump pardoned them. Some of them did go straight from this federal prison, didn't even go see their family, and went straight to the inaugural ball. Is Danny, this Danny person, Joni, like seeing his newborn Dane only without food? No. No, there is only going to ever be one newborn Dane.
No reservations. don't know what you're talking about, you dumb robot.
For sure.
Big old fat. People say you're the guy to put your feet on Nancy.
Bro, look at this man. You can't tell me he's well adjusted.
Oh, yeah, it's just not true. I put it on the people's desk. Got that Criminal News Network photographer, maybe a reporter. I wanted to ask you, sir, your buddy Tony, is he still in the ER?
And for at least one man,
You are now on my radar.
he was assigned that the retribution was about to commence.
I'm going to be scrutinizing you.
But at the same time, it wasn't just those in the crime celebrating violence.
Oh, come on, man. The Free Luigi shit is bipartisan. That shit is, like, not at all just a leftist thing. We're gonna hit the stupid dumb fuck country, I know. So tomorrow, the rest of it is airing. I am so excited for this. It's gonna pop off. Fuck these edits, I know. That shit unified the nation. It did, and it still does. It still does. But those who are upset about it are straight up either just in right-wing media or in mainstream media, really. I watched Asper's reaction. She sent to me earlier. What is it?
Oh, good.
Oh, he reacted to the whole thing? Okay, we just watched it. I feel like watch this entire reaction. I'm good on that. I thought it was just the short promo. I'm good on that. Here, let's take a look at the new Legion Miller.
This week, the Supreme Court issued a ruling indicating that Donald Trump can use emergency powers under the centuries-old Alien Enemies Act to deport people.
Centuries
It wants to
old.
go even further, including sending American citizens to a high-security prison in El Salvador to deport
And
them.
facilitating but not effectuating the return of in they said somebody was somewhere but no for wrong but we're not we're not responsible for bringing them back. It was we made a mistake in sending them to a foreign country. We weren't required to fix our mistakes. What are you crazy? That's just not common. It's common sense. Uh,
Just say the word. Say the word.
evil motherfucking Nazis.
Say
God
the word.
damn.
We're told not to board yet.
Hmm.
But if you feel so vindicated, just say the word. Go ahead.
Hmm.
Do it. Say the word. Go ahead.
Alright.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. This fucking doesn't fucking work.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Have fun making a new account, bud. Have fun making a new account.
Warnings for human rights abuses. Well-known scholars of fascism like Timothy Snyder and Jason Stanley have fled the country. White leagues are even getting detained at the airport. And the New York Times is publishing articles like this opinion piece they dropped today with the headline, "We should all be very, very afraid." If you live in America right now and haven't been sucked into the MAGA cult, you likely are feeling a sense of unease, to say the least. Not just because your 401k values have plummeted dramatically in the face of an escalating trade war, but also because it feels like the walls are closing in on more and more people, both our rights and also our physical autonomy and safety. I don't know about you, but my fight or flight response has been active. I alternate between considering full prepper lockdown and fleeing to Europe, the motherland. I know which websites are the best for searching for a cook.
Think I'm sorry for this? What?
Ugh.
Oh, no.
It's download. Download file. Not play file. Download file.
One joke.
Crappy website.
They got one joke. Where did they have two jokes? Is
Download.
the lady from 10 years ago screaming at Trump inauguration and
Right.
slurs.
God.
I ask this question all the time, but
The torrents don't work because the state government is so inept that it doesn't know how to differentiate between illegal downloads and they don't know how to do it because they couldn't change the clock on their cell phone.
And so many more questions. It's exhausting, and on top of it all, the constant onslaught of horrible news makes it very hard to know how much panic is legitimate and what's an overreaction. And when I'm spiraling personally, I find that more information is helping me get a grasp on what's happening.
Besides, downloading's not illegal, uploading is.
And in fact, it can be very helpful for me to stop and remind myself of the good news I possess so that I'm not in my own head obsessing about myself and can instead move forward with a clear mind and pay attention to what does matter and what is actually an emergency versus what is just a stress response. So today, in an attempt to offer you the same perspective and a moment of relief, maybe, I'm going to rank from A until down to fine.
The law against file sharing is premised on future loss of future profits. So like if you refuse to, like if a television station wants to do a show at a park and the city tells them no, they can sue the city for the amount of money that they believed that they were going to make. And oftentimes, uh, arguably 2 to 3 times the amount that they would have made. But power begets power, and the more power you have, the more you can get. I think it should be prohibited to do such a thing. You cannot sue somebody for stealing something you don't have yet.
Reactionary left end up that they need to, maybe not you particularly, Cheddar, but people who immediately are turned away or turned off by content. You need to remember, she's a springboard content creator. She is a springboard to more than this month. She is so living in or less Sunday.
And consider what that might look like for you. Next category, keep your eyes peeled. Your safety is not actually under threat. There are not credible reports that you are being targeted for jail or deportation, but you're still invulnerable to perhaps a watch list. And as things escalate, you may want to consider leaving if
That's
credible
the rest of
reports
that
don't
day.
and then there's the you are fine. The regime wants you here. Even if you don't openly support them, keep calm and put me on public advice. Now,
Turn it
obviously,
down.
huge caveat, because I have a picture that promised all that.
Like some gateways run. Y'all talk about
Do that when I get back. I have to clean a whole bunch of shit. Even having a cigarette yet. It's because I don't have fucking cigarettes or money. Because other people can put a fucking PayPal link on fucking Blue Sky or Twitter and get their rent paid. I can't get $5 fucking. Little odd.
So I'm using their criteria to determine who should or should not be worried. Additionally, you may have several personal identifiers that appear on this chart in different alert categories, and this will hopefully help you to suss out the nuances if there are some mitigating factors for or against. And finally, yes, this is stupid. We live in the stupidest possible time. It is infuriating.
Libs do that, libs don't, they're conservative. Remind yourself, Jeff, that you are more left today than you were yesterday. Everyone who finds themselves, at least thinking that they are leftist, was a lib at some point, or even a conservative.
So fucking stupid. This is all stupid. I mean, the moment of stupidity deserves. But this is what I've been thinking about for weeks, and I can't stop thinking about it. Creating this whole graph has helped actually, figure out what's worth taking action on
just saying, leave, well, that's capitulation, right? But if you are in danger, I'm not going to say you're wrong for leaving.
Relied on his alleged powers of the Alien Enemies Act to deport the immigrants in question, saying that this was an emergency, there's an invasion at the border, cartels and Mexican gangs are terrorist organizations, these people are terrorists, and by the power vested in me by this emergency situation, I'm going to deport them without any notice or chance to be heard by a judge. And the lower court blocked that, meaning the judge said, no, there's a chance you actually don't have that authority. Turn those planes around. They didn't turn the planes around, but the government also then appealed that judge's decision, and the Supreme Court weighed in and said, no, actually, lower court judge, you are wrong. Trump does have this ability. Because remember what I always say, the Supreme Court has a long history of giving incredible leeway when national security and emergency powers are invoked. Most famously in their Korematsu decision, where they decided that concentration camps filled with Japanese Americans on U.S. soil were A-OK. In fact, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson mentioned Korematsu by name in her dissent, saying the court was wrong then, just as it is wrong now. That being said, the Supreme Court did confirm that these detainees do in fact deserve due process, to be notified of their pending deportation, and have an opportunity to be heard in court before they are deported. That's illegal for two people already sent to that prison in El Salvador. The government is arguing that the U.S. now has zero jurisdiction to do anything to right those wrongs, but it means anyone currently being detained
Out of sight, out of mind. Can't do anything about it now, so I'm done.
what should be obvious, but unfortunately bears stating plainly, due process does still exist, at least in theory. However, immigration court is not criminal court, and you are not guaranteed a lawyer. The Supreme Court said that the way a person should contest their detention is through a habeas corpus petition. This petition is filed in court against the entity holding you against your will, and it's meant to prove that your rights are being violated by your detention. You can file a habeas petition on your own behalf, but you're going to be a hell of a lot more successful if you have a lawyer to file it for you and represent you in your hearings. There are many
Especially
pro bono.
if you're on a one phone call a day basis.
Attorneys do a lot of pro bono work. A lot of them do work assisting with habeas petitions because they tend to be isolated cases that are more manageable to handle alongside your other law firm work. But guess what? All the major law firms are doing? Defending Trump's bill. They'll only do pro bono work that Trump approves of. The bench are fine it, it's not going to approve of them continuing to help immigrants by representing them in court. So even though the Supreme Court confirmed your right to a hearing, the availability of lawyers that can do low-cost work for working immigrants, which wasn't plentiful to begin with, is dwindling. And if you are an immigrant here from a not predominantly white country, and you are documented or legally have been a contributing member of society for decades, have never committed any crime, have never pulled from the welfare system,
Doesn't matter.
have been a perfect
Young
well
folks,
immigrant, putting you at the top of this list still.
long
Yeah, I
time
think this came out before the
ago.
Are credible instances of West
Polluting the blood of America.
To El Salvador,
Off with your head.
ICE will make something up that was the truth, and it can be hard to prove your illegal residency here because they don't care. Your safety is at stake. I need you to get the fuck out. Again, this is not meant to be alarmist. I am trying to genuinely assess the risk.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Hours and hours
Because it's time to sound the alarm. These people are destroying America. Actual. That vaguely with DEI, helping the wrong kind of people. They're literally ignoring all laws and declaring that they don't have to follow separations of powers and declaring it just it's calling it common sense. It's insane. And anyone who supports them is obscene and a cruel monster. Or stupid.
what the exact risks are, I think that's the question that we need to ask.
Okay, next criteria on the list we have is get your shit together. This means
That fall into the money hole of I'm supporting the Republican Party. No, there won't be a Republican Party. There's going to be a MAGA Party. And that's going to be it. I support conservative fiscal behavior. This is not conservative fiscal behavior. I support laws that govern in favor of family. This is not law that supports a government in favor of family. This is law that supports in favor of tyranny and the ability for the most wealthy to do anything they want. First they came for the immigrants.
You are in the get your shit together category. Numerous reports are surfacing of
News today.
The reason they picked Hitler was because he was an anti-Semite, and they had chosen to attack the Jews first because there was a large amount of anti-Jewish sentiment in the country at the time. But what they wanted was the ability to do anything they wanted to anyone at any time, and they got it.
Would definitely not give papers and try to organize and do a mass class action to fight this shit as shit-ass landlord. Hey, keep us updated. Keep us updated on any progress you make.
tourists being detained and deported. A Welsh girl was backpacking through North America and was detained and ultimately deported because they said she was illegally working on her tourist visa. She was trading work for a place to stay, which is a very common practice called safe.
Also, not exactly safe either. It's an absolutely horrific story. This bloke, Mr. Blount, has been living in the U.S. for 7 years with a valid visa, but had it cancelled. A 5-year entry ban imposed, and it was deported to Australia by ICE. The U.S. is no longer a safe country to visit. No, it's not. It's not. I think this is a, if we're, ranking things by risk assessment, one of the subcategories should be, should you travel to the U.S., right? And the answer is an emphatic no. Do not travel to the U.S. We're in idiocracy mode. Have been for a while. You see this one? British man's tattoo wrongly linked to Venezuelan gang by U.S. government document. Wait, what? Okay, how do you, as like an ICE officer,
The fuck
see
happened?
a British person, or like just a white person, you see a tattoo, you're like, excuse me, we need to ask you questions about possible, domestic security threats, alright?
Patriarchal Christianity?
And then you hear that person go, boy, bruv, I've got my fucking Manchester United tattoo, alright? If you're not my bank, you're a wank. And you're like, yep, gotta get him out of here, brother, alright? I don't understand what the hell you're saying, Mr. Foreigner. Like, what the fuck? Terrible guy. Of course, they are. Venezuelan guy.
Absolutely not.
Dude, that's him? Oh my god. Hang on, listen to how he asked the question again. Like, the guy.
Absolutely not. Just an average middle-aged man from Derbyshire. That's identified Venezuelan gangsters. From what I'm using. So, screenshot it.
Just a sleeve. It's just a tattoo. What about that makes you go, oh, must be Tren de Aragua? Is it the cursive? Have we, no longer teaching people cursive or even requiring cursive for, like,
Ideally.
do ICE agents just see swirly letters and are like, yep, that's gang affiliation. Like, yeah, it's the tattoo.
I think they're looking at the tattoo.
Memorial, semi-script print, a clock. Like, it's every.
There's a good chance that had to do with where he lived.
Sent it out to the friends on social, so I said, hold on.
Like the whole block.
A 6 months all inclusive in
How can you live in a block with all these terrorists and not be a terrorist?
Started to do some research about the gang.
My sister goes to uni in the U.S. She can't wait until she gets back to Canada. A few more weeks and she's done her undergrad. I would inform your sister, and I'm sure you've done this, like, to have an emergency, like, evacuation plan, right? She's got a couple weeks left, pull it down. But, like, in case there's something, word that you're in that shatter sister situation. You're at a university and you get an email being like, oh, your travel visa, your student visa is now revoked. What do you do? What's the next step? Because you need to get back to your country. You need to get out of that situation. They have your address. How do you, safely get out of there? That's the question you'd ask yourself. Oh, sorry, I wanted to finish this.
And then found in some sort of border force documents that were forwarded to border force as reference when assessing people to see whether they're part of these gangs or not. So yeah, bit strange, a bit funny at first, and then became quite frightening as we sort of learned more about gangs and what they were doing, and they were identified.
Yeah, like go to the embassy. Yeah, like have your embassy contacts. That's who's trying to excuse the point. Like, what are they gonna tell me? Have you ever had any association with Putin did Arugura? Like, looks like you might be affiliated with the Tojo clan. All right.
Form whatever, and they provide room and board for you. The BBC article about her return home reads the same as when you hear about Americans being detained in Russia or somewhere and then return home. It says, quote, a backpacker detained in the U.S.
Don't give me that Gaijin aren't allowed in the Yakuza, all right? I saw that Jared Leto movie.
As he's back home in Wales after an emotional airport reunion, her father has confirmed.
Wait, you sexy motherfucker, you inspired me to pick up my tablet and draw after 2 years. It's a quick 2-hour doodle. Oh shit. Yo! That's sick. That's sick as hell. Mon ami, nice. Nice. That looks so good. Hell yeah, Lemons. That one's going in the.
I think we're gonna back up. It's been too long since St. Pedro. I don't know what's happening.
Becky Burke, 28, had been held in the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Processing Center for 19 days after being denied entry at the U.S.-Canada border. Her father, Paul Burke, told BBC Wales the nightmare is over after his daughter was reunited with family and friends at Heathrow Airport earlier. Mr. Burke said it will take some time for Becky to recover from this traumatic experience. A Canadian woman was detained at the southern border of the United
I don't
States.
know if you want to watch it. I don't think I've ever sat and watched it. They've just seen on TBS and like at house parties and weird shit.
She was trying to renew her legitimate visa. She was detained and questioned, and ultimately told that the processing of her visa was incorrect. It is still not clear why she was then held in a detention center for 2 weeks before being allowed to return to Canada. These are very real.
She was a DEI.
Like Lisa just explained. Nothing.
Detained in a U.S. immigration center is no fucking joke. If I were you, I'd be getting my shit together. And then finally on the get your shit together list is transfers. And this one I was a little on the fence about because frankly, I think y'all have been in the get your shit together category since before Trump took office. But I also recognize that there are a few countries where it's easy to live openly and happily as a trans person. Additionally, I'm not seeing reports that there is new active danger of deportation or incarceration being currently enacted.
Know who your friends are. Stop laughing, stop joking, stop insulting, and start being deadly serious.
That was happening before Trump took office in January. That being said, the election of Donald Trump further legitimizes hate and violence towards trans people. You are not unreasonable if you are making plans to leave and getting your shit together, or at the very least, getting from your state. Next category is high alert. This means you are
And practice your firearms.
part of a historically marginalized group. There are signs this administration actively wants to remove.
DHS identifying gang members be like,
Look at your
true. Hey, this is the very last bit's the best part.
You cannot deny that that is a cross. And what is worship? When the cross goes upside down.
You worship a symbol more than you do the message of the man.
Right, so there are not reports to show that your bodily
bitch. Think of the 41 months, dude. 41 months, damn. My teeth started to get here.
Threat in the same way that those in the higher categories are. I'd be considering my options if I were you. I'd be doing little research. I'd be seeing if I had ancestry somewhere that would allow me to get citizenship. I'd be thinking about applying for jobs internationally if I can. This category includes black people. Now, if you're black,
ACF, thank the 2 community gift stubs. Thank you. At the top of the hour, no less. Reminder chat, I'm no longer running the amount of ads I used to, just the 3 minutes to avoid free rolls. But you can still support the channel by subscribing, either for $6 or for free with the Twitch Prime, or if you're lucky, somebody might give you a sub. Also, what's up, Doodle? Washing machine just went crazy. Oh, what? Maybe just come to the realization and isn't trying to do the legal clinics about it anymore, knowing your rights means knowing you have none anymore. Yeah, I agree. Chuck, thank you to get the stuff.
Pokemon. Pocket Monster. The Spiral. And it stands for what? Male fertility. It's supposed to be able to mesmerize and hypnotize its enemies. This character over here is called Mewtwo. Every time that you see Mewtwo, he's in this pose. 3 fingers.
They will go. They will so fucking.
I think it's more than anything. I need a whole movie or like mini series just based on this. We basically have that with Righteous Gemstones, but like specifically this. If nothing else, a segment, a arc for Danny McBride's character in Righteous Gemstones. I think we do need to get a new washing machine. I agree.
It means hail Satan. Cute little one. Everybody, okay, everybody go. Oh, come on.
Aww.
His tail. It's a lightning bolt. And it's a satanic Z.
The famous satanic Z. What the?
Pokemon card from Burger King. Let's go. I have like 6 of those on my shelf.
Made and distributed by Wizards of the Coast. What is a wizard? Male practitioner of black magic.
That's right.
A cute little Pokemon. Can we agree on that?
That's not exactly accurate, but
Little satanic tail. Or the camera.
He's cute, isn't it? Little satanic tail. I love this shit so much. Alright, let's finish this.
and a recent immigrant or childhood immigrants, those higher categories also apply to you. But if you're black and not a recent immigrant, descendants of formerly enslaved people, for example, there's not new evidence of increased active targeting of black Americans, but their physical safety. But the threat to you is higher simply because racism and hatred is being legitimized through Trump's
What was
presidency.
that link, please? This? Oh, this is a classic. I got you.
And because dismantling DEI programs and calling every black person a DEI hire is going to hinder your opportunities in this country. Plus, the other threats to your physical safety and to incarceration that come with being black in this country, which is not new to this regime. Racism is a problem everywhere, but your opportunities may be less hindered elsewhere, where education is more accessible and less expensive, where there's established practices of at least trying to avoid bias in hiring processes, etc. The U.S. is not creating an environment for you to thrive, so it is not unreasonable for you to seriously consider your options for going elsewhere. Also on high alert, disabled people, whether physically or mentally or in ways that are not immediately visible. You are already marginalized. The Trump regime and Project 2025 have made it clear they don't give a shit about you. There is a real threat your protections and rights may go away. That being said, again, you are not under immediate or increased bodily threat to the same level as these higher categories. But you are not unreasonable for considering other countries where protections are less at risk. Also on high alert, Muslims who are historically marginalized, existing in a Christian.
I mean, crusade against anti-Christian bias is Donald's DEI. Trump admin orders diplomats to rat on colleagues for anti-Christian bias, according to leaked cable that I published in full. New from Kenny Clips. Ken Lichtenstein. Trump administration on Friday instructed U.S. diplomats to report on any examples of anti-Christian bias that they encounter in the workplace. That's okay. If there's one thing
respect that.
does have,
You know,
like,
legislate that, respect it. of establishment of religion, that one religion cannot be insulted. Well, that statement would be hilariously fun if taken from a Gnostic perspective, from a legal perspective. That's fucking satanic. Remember, our Lord's promises in heaven, not here. Beware those who tout material gain as proof of their righteousness. Beware those who mark their survival as a mark of their righteousness. You didn't feel like going for the reward today, did you? Your mom by the other day would say, like, never wants to, soldier head up to heaven. I highly doubt she is resting in that doesn't sound like her. Well, what are women doing in the government anyway? Blah, blah, blah. They tackle like children as they gleefully reduce the rights of others to enrich themselves. Children calling names of being told that they're wrong about their faith and that they don't practice the faith of Christ, like simply being white, wearing a suit and tie, and showing up to the club on Sunday doesn't make one a good person and forgive you all of your earthly behavior. That they've never read the book they've claimed to be in love with. They've never obeyed the orders they claim to be righteous of. That is what they mean by anti-Christian, calling them on their bullshit.
is a classic. This is an evergreen. Like it does belong in like the National Archives. Time back Ken Clips got Matt Gates to retweet a photo of Lee Harvey Oswald. Or Orwellian deleting words is straight out of 1984. Yeah. Oh, that is troll as fuck. Oh yeah. I mean, it's not the first time that Matt Gates has been pranked. Let's see. Let's see. Let me find it. Here we are. So in the Who is America Sacha Baron Cohen series, during the kindergarten segment, this happened.
I was welcomed into the halls of Congress, where I sat down with the House of Representatives and outlined my common sense proposal.
Oh, before Botox and Ozempic, this is what Matt Gaetz used to look like.
To say on television that I support 3 and 4-year-olds with firearms? Is that interesting?
Yes. You can do
Typically, members of Congress don't just hear a story about a program and indicate whether they support it or not.
I support the kindergarten program. We in America would be wise to implement it too. It's something that we should think about in America, about putting guns in the hands of all whether they be teachers or whether they actually be talented children. And as it turns out, Matt Gaetz qualified signed his name onto a bill that would have done exactly this, give teachers and certain, approved students firearms. He didn't publicly go out and support it. He didn't sign on to one. Dr. Merrico was just right, but too early. Also, Frank here.
I just want to go in and right with space and say you're a fucking pedophile. Like, what's wrong with that?
There is nothing wrong with that. I'm saying if you just say you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile, you're a pedophile, you're missing out on something like
Oh yeah. There it is.
Oh my god, I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I mean, this is
Like look at him before he got ousted, and look at him here. Like those are damn near two different people. He got new caps, got a little tan, got some Botox, went to Ankara, got his hair fixed. Like that's a different ass person. Sure, you can save her. Oh man, yeah. Put the estradiol down, sir. Let's see. You're making a mockery of a day that is meant to memorialize men that died. Oh, and send a statement condemning me that caused me to rage. The real mockery, in my view, is politicians performatively reposting any veteran content they can find to conceal how little they actually care. The point of my practical joke. But anyway, where's the rest of this? Okay, I think this is it. Since the Inquisition or the beginning of some totalitarian theocracy, it's just a ridiculous muddle and laughable piece of government sausage, hoping to both implement and thwart Donald Trump's stream of consciousness directives at the same time. In that regard, it is brilliant. I don't know about that.
Not stream of consciousness. There's a group of wealthy individuals, people who are wealthier than Trump, sitting behind him. Their plans are public. They're following it by the numbers. Still don't. That's not the plan. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 10 is basically Nazis. It's not Nazism because it's not like as militant, and it's not anti-Jewish. But the Nazis never were anti-Jewish. They were anti the unwanted. They found a group of people that people didn't like and activated legal protocol to do deportations, black bagging, criminal. They created camps for unwanted people. People didn't like Jews, so they said they were only going to do it to the Jews, and then they just. Somebody said, like, I'm Jewish, I can't be a Nazi. You don't know your history. The Jewish thing was a completely secondary, tertiary even. Hitler was a patsy. You're like, "Well, A, the guy lost his war. B, he was a total stooge. C, was a complete horn dog. Like, he... Too busy fucking prostitutes to win a war, and he hated his own ethnicity because he was fucking Jewish. I wonder how black people could be supporting Nazis. Kanye sells swastikas. Because you don't know what you're talking about, and I do. That's why you don't like it. Then why don't you talk about it more about how if your knowledge and your information is so accurate, why don't you talk about it? Some do, and those are their leaders. And they want to bring back slavery, return women to secondary citizens that require a family, a man who owns property, preferably slaves, to vote. Those are the people behind what Trump is doing right now. And that is a fucking fact.
These bizarre moments may seem entirely trivial considering the daunting authority he now wields as commander of the free world. And they are.
To sing the theme from Green Acres, please welcome Donald Trump and Will and Grace's Karen Walker.
The person we hear the least about, we hear all about Elon Musk and his fucking illegal operation in the Doge project. But the actual like bureau like spending or whatever guy is a heritage guy, and we never hear his name.
Have American military support when this is your guy.
But they also may hold the key to understanding at least part of the reason why he landed that job in the first place. After all, if it weren't for the star power he honed on his long-running reality show, there's a decent chance the American people wouldn't have given his 2016 bid for the White House anything more than a passing glance. And he certainly may not have gained so much experience theoretical crowds at his rallies if it weren't
No,
for
he's
all the
famous.
practice he had with the WW.
Basically, if you've had a TV show, you're more likely to win an election by like 400%.
Once formally inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame years before he ever set foot on the campaign trail. This came after he had hosted 2 WrestleManias back-to-back at Trump Hotel in the late 80s and participated in a 2007 story
I heard it.
embracing the role of a babyface in the wrestling world before becoming a heel on the political stage. Having full reign to revel in
You just get the part where he had an unsuccessful casino, a relatively successful but still not successful television show. I don't know how he can have such high ratings, such high marketing, and still file for bankruptcy afterwards. Probably because he's overextending himself. Always does.
To reduce Vince McMahon's title to mere a former owner of the WWE would be to diminish the greater responsibility he's had in shaping American culture as we know it. Throughout his 40-year reign that oversaw the monumental rise of superstars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, and so many others, Vince had an instrumental role in pushing professional wrestling far and beyond the lowbrow trash entertainment it was once taken for and helped mold it something far greater, an international phenomenon that helped forge the persona of a future U.S. president.
I consider this to be my greatest honor of all.
If you grew up watching WWE in the 80s and 90s, you're probably already familiar with Vince McMahon's desire to monopolize professional wrestling at all costs, steamroll the competition in an unending quest to become one of the richest and most formidable individuals on the planet. This story focuses on
a massive union buster. Fuck Hulk Hogan.
his journey to the top, highlights the morality he ignored to
The
get there.
minute they put America first above family first is when the Republican Party became the mega cause, in my
Performers that
opinion.
were trying to unionize, he probably wouldn't be in the position he's in. Vince McMahon. He probably wouldn't be as rich as he is, and the WWE would not have, the CEO's wife in the education department. Donald Trump might not be president if it weren't for Hulk Hogan.
Is reinforced by the testimonies of those he hurt, the families he tore apart, the relationships he
Funding
crushed,
by
and
the
in some
groups,
cases, the lives
the Heritage Foundation and associated groups. That's who paid for him to be president because he didn't have any fucking money left. That's how he's gotten out of bankruptcy every fucking time. Is he called up somebody and said, "I'll do whatever you want. Just give me a couple $1 million." I can't live like this.
New allegations have emerged involving WWE billionaire CEO Vince McMahon. They top some of the wrestling stars of all create.
Vince Ventura tried to form the union, and Hulk Hogan ratted on him. Yeah, that's the story I was referencing.
As the world reeled from some of the worst man-made disasters in human history, Vince Kennedy McMahon was born on August 24th, 1945, in a small rural community located in Pinehurst, North Carolina, a place Vince would rarely acknowledge and never return to following the rise of his wrestling empire. His father, who was serving the U.S. Coast Guard during World War II, would abandon Vince and his brother in his move to Washington, D.C. shortly after their birth. For a while, little was truly known about Vince's most formative years. He would tell riveting tales of his swashbuckling youth as if he were constantly causing trouble and always on the run from law enforcement, only for some
Trust fund Danny right there.
stories to fall apart upon further scrutiny from journalists like Abraham Josephine Reisman, author of the best-selling biography of Lee Webster, which I will be pulling from throughout this video. It seemed as though Vince McMahon wanted people to think he was a more rebellious child than he actually was, essentially in an attempt to mask an otherwise traumatic upbringing, which he alluded to in a 2001 interview with Playboy, hinting at being sexually abused by his mother, Vicky. Despite him clearly telling the magazine it was insensitive subject that he would rather not embellish, Vince was given a different treatment by shock jocks like Howard Stern, whose sensationalist interviews had no concern for maintaining boundaries.
I read a Playboy. I was shocked. Your mother, you're not touching her. You said she molested you. That's got to be terrible.
Jesus Christ, Howard Stern.
Yeah. My mother is around and you don't talk to her. Not a lot. Boy, did she blow it because, man, you're a billionaire. Did she get any money from the WWE? I just realized what I said. Did she blow it?
Howard Stern in those days was something else. And this was only 3 minutes into the interview.
Friend of Donald Trump, Howard Stern.
He was also subject to rampant physical abuse from his belligerent stepfather, Leo Lipton, during these early years as well. As the
Howard
family
Stern is like the kick streamer of talk shows. True.
bounced between trailer parks in the South, young Vinnie Lipton, as he was known at the time, was a world away from D.C., where his biological father, Vincent James McMahon, was making a name for himself as a wrestling promoter during the 1950s. See, Vince had inherited the business from his father, Jess McMahon, founder of Capital Wrestling Co.,
Federation, which eventually became World Wrestling Entertainment after a 2002 lawsuit by
The World
Wildlife
Wildlife.
Fund had the initials first. Even now, with Vince Kennedy McMahon absent from the
I don't know if they
company
mentioned
following
that.
a wave of sexual assault allegations, which we will be discussing later, control of the multi-billion-dollar franchise had largely been in the hands of the McMahon family dynasty for generations, with Vince's daughter Stephanie being named CEO for a brief time in 2022. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Reisman's book is an excellent source on pretty much everything there is to know about Vince's childhood in particular. Interviewing countless old friends and family members, she writes about all things from Vince's mother being sent to perform in minstrel shows to Vince's first sexual experience being between him and his cousin, the same cousin whom his stepfather Leo would later marry. There are plenty of anecdotes listed here in the first few chapters. Bruh, birds of a feather. Holy shit. Like, you could describe that and just replace Vince with Elon, and it's almost a one-to-one. He is a Kennedy after all, right? Of Vince's life that are sure to raise some eyebrows, to say the least. And I would suggest you read the entire book if you get the chance, as it does go into more detail than we'll be able to cover here in this long. Vince has tried pitching incest storylines with his own daughter and his own daughter saying no. Yeah, not surprising. Randy, an incredibly long video. But one detail that surprised me the most is how Vinny wasn't even that much of a wrestling fan growing up. In fact, he didn't seem to be that interested at all. Now, of course, wrestling wasn't the behemoth it would become later on down the line for reasons that will become clear soon. But Vince wasn't even described as very athletic until he was older. And I found it fascinating that he was only drawn to the sport after he met his dad, a man with a kinder, warmer presence than any of the authority figures he had grown up with, telling one outlet that he instantly, quote, fell in love with Vince Sr., became determined to win over his approval in any way he could, splitting his teenage years between his segregated neighborhood of North Carolina and the Upper Echelon Nations cabin where Vince... Wow, the segregated neighborhood. I wonder how the Attitude Era stopped. Started. You were so right. Yeah, this is almost like this is the American version of Elon Musk. You know, without all the science fiction prophecies. Senior owned a massive home and was in constant contact with the wrestlers he promoted. Jerry Gray, Antonio Rocca. Vince would reportedly meet another one of his idols, professional wrestler Jerry Graham. Now, when you look into Jerry Graham, you find a litany of wild testimony from his days in the limelight. Like one fabled story reported in Wrestling Observer that in 1970, a drunken Jerry barged into the home of Stu Hart, another legendary wrestler and promoter, and demanded he accompany him to his ex-wife's house to kidnap their daughter. As the story goes, Stu said no and advised against it, so Jerry went and found another wrestler, Abdullah the Butcher, to join him instead. When they got there, Jerry was attacked by his ex-wife's new husband, and the two wrestlers were promptly taken into custody, leaving Stu the task of bailing them out. Considering it, not having followed wrestling ever, other than like the handful of characters that I find funny, and not even following, I'm just aware of them. This does sound like something that was a story arc in the WWE. Yeah, we can watch Dark Side of the Ring, but this does feel like this was acted out in the ring at some point. Well, that, I'd say it makes perfect sense why Vince Sr. didn't exactly want his son hanging out with the man. But despite his wishes, the younger Vince was very much drawn to Jerry's flashy, arrogantly crude demeanor, traveling around with him on occasion, and picking up some key insights into the industry he would soon dominate. And above all else, no matter how crazy things get, you must always protect the business. A lot of these story arcs were not much more crazy than what these CTE-riddled, no healthcare access dudes were capable need to know before we move forward. It's called a kayfabe, with some believing it originated from a pig Latin spelling of the word fake. That's exactly what it means. Fake, scripted, fictional, work, as it's known among wrestling circles. Kayfabe essentially applies to all wrestling matches that are planned out ahead of time, which happens to be all of them. In fact, wrestling kayfabe dates all the way back to the post-Civil War era, where traveling caravans of entertainers would script out wrestling matches in order to give the audience a more entertaining show.
What's up, guys?
You don't need me to tell you that these things have always
My
been
bad, I
fake.
didn't sound like a YN in that one.
The only thing you knew about wrestling before clicking on this video. The kayfabe was once considered sacred, at least among wrestlers and promoters. Reisman points out that it's impossible to know exactly how many wrestling fans have bought into kayfabe. If everyone watching it knew it was completely fake to begin with, if people knew some parts were fake but thought others were real, or maybe they just knew it was all fake and wanted to pretend it was real. There's no scientific, tried and true method to gauge this phenomenon. And while the media has been exposing kayfabe for the past 100 years, for the first 2 decades of the WWF's existence, Vince did everything he could to maintain the veneer of authenticity, in fear that it would ruin the audience's interest in what they were doing with even the slightest breach of... Do you have freckles? I need to know for reasons. I'm sorry. What? What is this question? What? I'm watching this 480. Okay. Kayfabe being enough to cause the entire industry to cave in on itself. At least that's what he told the wrestlers. As a result, the wrestlers were conditioned to give it their all when they were in the ring, and wrestling fans were conditioned not to disrespect their favorite performer. So fucking freckles, you can see the under my tattoo. By showing any indication that they knew it was all a work. Wrestlers have routinely described feeling addicted to the performance, no matter what it may have done for their long-term. Irish and Scottish, no idea. Back when wrestlers had to uphold kayfabe, face wrestlers were only allowed to travel with fellow face wrestlers, and heels travel with heels. Interesting. I mean, like, anyone who was insistent that, like, it's real, like, the fights are real, like, they were just coping, right? It's real to me, right? But, like, the injuries, the stress on the body, the CTE, all of that's real. They are stunt performers, right? They're basically fight choreographers. Well, the rush they got from being cheered on by an adoring crowd was sometimes enough to ease the physical trauma. But wrestling wasn't always this popular. In fact, it's hard to say what the sport would look like today at all without the ruthless crusade of Vince Kennedy McMahon. Before the WWE became the global behemoth we all know it to be today, pro wrestling on this side of the world was originally broken down into smaller regional territories scattered across the United States and Canada. Like the Japanese wrestling shows way better than American. I have a friend who is a co-host of a wrestling podcast called The Last Match Standing, and they focus heavily on the Japanese wrestling sector because that's where like most of their fan base is. Weirdly enough, the stuff that he showed me of Japanese wrestling is incredible. Their storylines are way better. While they had all been held together by the National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, since 1948, each of these individual territories still had their own way of doing things. Because wrestling matches were hosted locally, communities enjoyed a more intimate bond with the wrestlers they watched on TV or in person. The WWE, or at this time the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, belonged to the territory system as well. During the era of Vince Sr., it was confined to the northeastern sector of America and was considered the glittering crown jewel of the NWA. While the territory system was in no means perfect, with Reisman comparing the NWA to a wrestling cartel and Jackman columnist Dan O'Sullivan likening it to the mafia, the old way of doing things was incredibly flawed, but still had a few... Oh, that's very cute. That That's cute as hell. I love that. I love that. Good job. For example, if a wrestler didn't like how business was being conducted over here in the Pacific Northwest, well, then they could pretty easily try their luck over here at Detroit's big-time wrestling promotion instead. Even if the pay was shit in both of these areas, since NWA promoters conspired with one another to keep labor costs as low as possible and worked on a highly coercive business model, this was still seen as preferable to what came next. There is an undisputed history of corruption during this time of NWA dominance that we just don't have the time to explore here, but the key thing to remember right now is that the National Wrestling Alliance was maintained by a strict, unspoken code of non-interventionism. As long as you didn't infringe on somebody else's turf, all was right in the world. But Vince wasn't about world peace. Without the knowledge of the general public, Vince had made a secret arrangement to purchase the WWF from his father in the summer of 1982 for $1 million, a payment he made sure to follow through on. But where exactly did young Vinny come up with all that money? After all, he was just a lowly announcer, at least on paper. People have their theories, but as sports historian and former WWF manager Jim Cornette went on to assert, Senior allowed his son to foot the bill using the company's profits, so long as he didn't miss a payment for a full year.
Vince agreed to buy Capital Wrestling, the old WWF, from his father Vince Sr. for, what was it, $1 million? And he had to make quarterly payments, and if at any point he didn't make the payments or if it wasn't paid off on the, appropriate time, it would revert back to his dad. But it was a promotion business that was already ongoing and having a hot period, and so he just stepped in and used the money off the towns that was already coming in to make payments and never have to actually spend any of his own money if he indeed had any at that time.
So there's a case to be made that Vince got the company for free. Either way, the passing of the torch had less to do with merit in the family. It's not like he had really done much to prove his worth. Facilitated a handful of failed vanity projects, but it did huge embarrassment, including a fight with Muhammad Ali in Japan, where, according to wrestler Freddie Blassie, Vince had proposed staging. That was a good promoter, though. Businessman. Marketing is everything. The best ones are the ones that can market the best. That have the entire brand, like, tied to the identity of the consumer. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Steve Jobs. If your marketing isn't there, if your promotion isn't there, you got nothing. Match, which would involve assaulting Ali with a razor blade without his consent, blading where one wrestler discreetly slices their own skin with a razor during a fight.
Yeah.
I feel revived. My fate is survival. I never miss. Time to fly.
Ooh, I just lost. Pay attention to my power levels.
My fate is survival. Time to fly. I never miss. My fate is survival.
Initially convinced to get enough wrestling purists from booking his own WWF wrestlers to perform in smaller territory. So accustomed to seeing their regional heroes perform exclusively. Polygon even dug up this letter and incensed Ben and submitted to the Wrestling Observer newsletter in 1984, labeling Vince a, quote, real threat to the stability of pro wrestling, which obviously was due 50 subs away from 35.
2/3 of it is mine. Let them try.
Lowered the ad density to just avoid the for chatter.
Broke my own record. I feel revived. My fate is survival.
For Atlantis. This will hurt. Me,
My fate. Here comes a physics lesson.
This will hurt. Me, For Atlantis.
My fate is survival.
Known as the golden age of the WWF and lasted from about 1984 to 1993. After decades of being written off by those on the outside, Vince was able to bring the genre out from the shadows and into the forefront of mainstream attention by roping well-respected musicians like Cyndi Lauper into Hollywood heavyweights like Mr. T into his intricately woven and provocative storylines, of which he basically had total direction of. Vince had made the WWF and the stars that dominated it inescapable. Names like Andre the Giant, Macho Man Randy Savage, and of course the All-American Hulk Hogan were rapidly becoming national icons. Even if you've never watched wrestling a day in your life, you absolutely know the term Hulkamania and would instantly recognize the roided-up blonde beast behind it. Part of that has to do with the fact that Vince wasn't just confiding his talent to the ring. Vince was booking his athletes on primetime late-night slots, using their likeness for toys, lunchboxes, bed sheets, and even bringing their characters to the world of Sunday morning cartoons, like the launch of Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling in 1985. The children's show featured a litany of the WWF's top roster, embarking on non-wrestling adventures. It was like peak American cultural dominance. This was our moment. We were never more on top than this period of time, as far as like cultural dominance goes. The like action hero era. You know, Arnold, Sylvester, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man. Hell, even the muscles from Brussels were not thought of as, medium from Brussels. Jean-Claude Van Damme. That was a mullet that screamed America. Chuck Norris. All of them. This was our, cultural imperialism. Walker, Texas Ranger, 1980s. It was also, very anti-communist. It was very much part of our Red Scare propaganda. One with, Rocky IV, Dolph Lundgren playing Ivan Drago. Where Mama at? Oh, true. Steven Seagal as well. Jean-Claude Van Damme's ass is in every movie. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if someone can find the clip of Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't know what movie it was, but he does his famous split in a scene where there's like a wire on the floor and water's like rushing in, and he goes to do the split between a washer and dryer, and he's wearing the shorts
Okay.
that were legally allowable on cable television. Was it Time Cop?
He does the splits in the kitchen. Yeah, it was Time Cop.
That scene, that's so funny. Hammond Fist, thank you for the 1 year. Vendetta, thank you for getting this up as well. Chuck, thank you for all those knives in chat.
What the Bloodsport, Max Ninja, Time Cop, they're all like MST3K level. Future War, love it. One of my favorite MST3Ks. I would consider it.
They were restricted to See? Find it, find it. Okay, just link me. Okay, this is the scene. This is it. See? Should be towards the end. Yes, yes.
Oh.
Unacceptable. This is the level of like badass that we need in Marvel Rivals, okay? Not this little like, Hank Hill butt, like, oh, technically it's that's like, no, this is what we need. We need this in Marvel Rivals. We need this for an Iron Fist outfit. Just this. It's just the short shorts. Jean-Claude Van Damme has the biggest badass ever. I don't know about that. Like the change you want to see show ass, yeah. There's a twerking emote for Venom, everyone got it for free, yeah, but it's still not a whole lot of ass, right? Like Venom is a big character. That requires big ass, okay? Bro could throw a heater with those cheeks. Holy shit. But if you actually go back and watch it, you'll see that none of these wrestlers were actually voiced by their real life counterparts. This was also around the same time that Vince began to trademark his talent wrestling names, which prevented them from taking their iconic personas elsewhere and gave Vince the utmost control over as Reisman put it, quote, the humans who portrayed these characters who sweated and bled for the WWF were now introduced to intellectual property, neutered, portable, and, in the case of the cartoon, quite literally two-dimensional. Vince was building a world in which labor was entirely subservient not just to an individual boss, but to what Americans would come to call a brand. In 2019, John Oliver did a whole episode on the WWE's grisly workplace conditions, specifically zeroing in on Vince's practice. That scene from Timecop literally gave us this. Not just the one from Timecop, but his entire career gave us this.
And a mindset to master the most epic of splits.
Somebody watched Thor: Love and Thunder and said, "I can do that." Art. Pixar. Pixar.
Is this a Euro truck ad? Is it ad specifically for the new Volvo truck? Are they going reverse again?
Yeah.
Why not?
I read the book before they made the movie.
Demonstrate the power of his hip flexors.
There's a whole series.
Because the footage is reversed. No, it's not reversed. They did this.
It's
like,
the Scholastic book thing.
as you see it. This is legitimately how they did it. Wake up. Because I wanted to back that thing up. Backwards is harder to drive straight. Proof of their German engineering. Of hiring wrestlers as independent contractors, thereby avoiding the need to provide any health insurance, paid family leave, retirement accounts, travel expenses, social security, unemployment insurance, and workman's comp to the many men and women who destroy their bodies on a daily basis to line his wallet. Not to mention that there is no off-season, and the WWE has historically been to have much of a choice but to agree to Vince's
No.
terms. As far as the big man himself is concerned, quote, anyone who makes the kind of money that they make can easily afford their own health care. As Jackman's stand-up Sullivan argues, though, wrestling icon Bret Hart might beg to differ. In his 2014 article, Sullivan illustrates an in-ring accident that caused Hart to miss several weeks of work. But when Hart could no longer support his family on the couple $100 a week he had been getting from the WWF, Hart was forced to return to wrestling early after already having to pay his medical bills out of pocket. Sullivan theorizes that this might have been the point all along, considering how much the WWF stood to gain by having one of their star wrestlers back in the ring as soon as possible. The worst part is these wrestlers are extremely aware of the fact that they're being taken advantage of. There just hasn't been much they can do about it. It's not like they haven't tried. Former wrestler turned governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, once sought to address these harrowing conditions by attempting to unionize his fellow wrestlers in 1984, only to be immediately shut down by his opponents.
Because when I was in wrestling communities, I tried to unionize wrestling, and it was Hulk Hogan who cut my legs out from underneath. Hulk Hogan.
Alright, Anglo, give me the Jesse Ventura governor impersonation video. We have to watch it now.
Vince McMahon ratted me out, and subsequently, later on, cost me my job.
I mean, if there's any job on the planet that needs a union, it's probably the one that involves getting slammed in the head by a metal chair and being routinely pulverized by giant human beings, not literally performers, like stunt doubles and, stunt choreographers, like they're unionized, they're SAG-AFTRA. These are stunt performers, they're both actors and they're stuntmen. There's no reason for them not to have a union. They're on television. It's not just like a live performance. It's also a televised
It's not a
live
smart
performance.
person.
They have every reason to be part of SAG-AFTRA. At least. Like, the people that are putting on these
They
events
did like
at the venue
15 years of child acting, successful child acting, and just a ton of art.
The facility workers, the ones that are putting together the staging, like, they're all unionized, but the performers who are, like, getting CTE at 32, they're not getting, union benefits. Nights out of leave. Because, oh my god, these guys work and travel constantly. Yeah, and they're multiple season writers. Anonymous wrestler telling Jacobin, quote, to be at work from, let's say, noon until when the show's over, which could be midnight, that's a 12-hour day. But then you also have to drive to the next town, which could be 300. You got it?
Don't tell me you don't have 4 more reps in you. Come on, Chris, don't tell me it didn't happen. I was there. Jesse Ventura, I was doing tricep extensions in the middle of the pocket. I'm a grown man, so are you, Chris. Come on now. We ain't got time to reach you.
Okay, this is the one I was thinking of. This isn't it. Hold on. This isn't the one I was thinking of. There's a better one. I know I've seen it on this fucking show before. I really should just, like, bookmark it. Made a bookmark. It's cracking the fuck up. Your impression's coming along, dude. I can't get, like, it's, like, back here, and I can't get that sound just right. Son of a bitch. I can't find it. Is this it? No, that's not it. Not the sexual Tyrannosaurus. Not that one. It's the, like, I have 500 wild dogs at my beck and call. That one. This one? It's Jesse Ventura.
He's still in the bottom. I don't live in the United States of America, but I'm 6 months out of the year. I'm down in the Baja. There's more regulations. There's less laws. The building codes, you can do whatever you want down there. Building codes. I can build a home straight up into the sky if I want. My house is actually shaped like a pool. I have a great crew out there in the Baja. I got from Rosarito.
Maybe it is Will Sasso. Maybe it is his.
most of the time. I have a dog somewhere north of 150 dogs, wild dogs, they all answer to me. They all understand that I'm the head honcho, me and Armando, and we get down there. I don't know if you know
that's the one thing
the Baja, the fish taco started in the Baja.
have to. Five more minutes. Let's round number thingamajigger. What? What Thundercat in our hand. Unlock. Transition of the main Steve for you.
Moving on. You know, that's the thing that we cure people. You know, and things aren't working. So you move on. Respectfully, respectfully. Y'all gonna punish Bob and me for respectfully moving on.
Remember this.
Streets are buzzing about the valley. We're about to break down. Well, how's how it really went down? This divorce has been very nasty. And now this saga continues. Here's what I learned with non-stop bombshells and betrayals. Some things like Jason goes out, takes it
I don't like Predators. I like Predators. I saw it in the theater for my TV show, Red Phone Zone. That was an awesome. That was a completely awesome turn of events. I was like, just doing my thing, blah blah blah. And this guy that I know shows up, like knocks on the door. He's got camera equipment, computers, and shit. He's like, "We're starting a show," and we just started Red Phone Zone, like right, like there, like over the next like 3 hours. He was like, "Go, it's go time." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know better to do." 45 episodes later. I have no idea how to get a hold of that footage. The website. Hold on, let me see if I can even pull up that sharing website.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. But what about me if it's 7? I'm not there.
Live stream. No, this is like software. Periscope. So that's weapons to. Okay, time to go. And 2 hours.